Good evening and welcome to WTFriday. Tonight I'm bringing you into an aspect of my life that I hope will bring you a few laughs. It's about some of the dates that I've been on over the past couple of years. Now, before I get started, I want to mention something. Last week on one of the episodes, I can't remember if it was WTFriday or Mystery Murder and Mayhem, I mentioned a little bit about the stats for the show, and so I got looking further into them, and I found out some stuff about y'all. 79% of y'all are female, and y'all are in the 45 and up age bracket. Well, that happens to be my age bracket. So I'm hoping that most of y'all can identify with tonight's episode if you're single, and hopefully you get a good laugh from it. And I do just want to say that this is not going to be a long episode, but stick around because I'm about to give you a few giggles.
Welcome to WTFriday, the After Dark series presented by Mystery, Murder, and Magic. Listener discretion is advised.
Now, I've been single for a long time, and honestly, sometimes I think that maybe the single life just suits me. I'm not ruling anything out, but sometimes I'm just so set in my ways. Not that I wouldn't compromise for somebody, but I'm just saying that right now I'm enjoying my own company, taking care of my own business, and all that jazz. Now, some people may disagree with this, but relationships do take work. The love part, it does come naturally, but maintaining a relationship can sometimes be a full-time job within itself. Now, each person on this earth has a mindset that things should be a certain way. Like I said, set in my ways. You know, they have a certain way that they go about doing things, and then you meet this person, and they have a whole different way of doing these things. Well, sometimes that can cause clashes between the two. But with a little work, it can be resolved where both sides are equally satisfied. Now, I'm not saying anyone has to change for another person. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is compromise. And compromising isn't changing. It's just finding a way to work through a situation. But anyway, a lot of us in the single bracket turn to online dating just because it's hard to meet new people. Like with me, I don't do bars. But, you know, once you're older and you just have like so many things going on, and I know I've talked in the past about bad things coming from meeting people online, but it doesn't always turn out to be tragic. And over the years, I've dated several men that I've met online. And I've actually had a couple of good relationships from some of those that I met online. And of course, they weren't long lasting because here we are single again, but they were good while they did last. And others I've gone on one date and just decided that was more than enough. Now, the first one that comes to mind happened, I'm going to say about 12 years ago. I talked with this one guy, and I swear I can't even remember his name. For the sake of the story, we're going to call him Dave. Anyway, Dave and I, we texted one another for about a week, and we had mutual friends, so we decided to meet. Well, keep in mind now, this was 2 days before Christmas. So Dave picks me up, and we go to the Olive Garden for dinner. Everything was going great. I mean, he was a little annoying, but I mean, not bad. And I thought I'd save my opinion for him till the end of the day. Well, halfway through our meal, he says he needs to use the restroom. Okay, no big deal. People do have to go sometimes. But then he's gone for quite a while. And I'm starting to wonder, did he leave me? But he finally came back to the table and he says that he's had a stomach bug. And he's sorry it took so long. A freaking stomach bug. Well, I told him in a nice way that he could have postponed the date since he had been sick, and I wouldn't have minded. But he was like, oh no, there was no way he was going to miss out on that date. Well, Any other time, that would have been a nice gesture. But considering the fact that he was obviously still sick, it was nearly infuriating. Now, we finished the meal, and I told him that since he wasn't feeling well, it'd be best for him to drop me off so he could go back home, lay down, rest, get feeling better. Well, he did drop me off, but he decided he needed to walk me to the door. And y'all, he tried to kiss me. Yep. The weirdo tried to kiss me after telling me he had a stomach bug. Well, I turned my head like really fast at the last minute before he could land one. So, like I said, this was like right before Christmas. Well, Christmas morning rolls around, and Santa, he left me a nice gift of that stomach bug. I was so sick that I couldn't even watch my kids open their gifts or having to run to the restroom. And I was sick all that day. I was in bed all day on Christmas Day, okay? I was sick the next. And then it went through all three of my kids. And by the time it had went through all three of the kids, I had it again. And guess what day I woke up with it? On my birthday on New Year's Eve. So it was the gift that just kept on giving. And needless to say, I never spoke to Dave again. Blocked. But then there's this one guy that I'm going to call Ike. That's not his real name. But, I'm not here to trash anybody. But anyway, now this just happened about a month ago. From our very first conversation, we just clicked. Like, we just had this magic, or so I thought. And because we had all this stuff in common. And it was hard to not really like this guy. And, at the beginning, like the first week we talked, he sent me a bouquet of tulips, which are my most favorite flower. And he, like I said, he did that before we even met in person. Well, when we finally met in person, things were great. So I thought. Then the next morning, not long after I woke up, he hit me with, "I don't feel a connection." Okay, well, you sure did last night, buddy. I'm not going to go into what that means, but, Now, I know I'm not perfect. I do have some weight to lose. My teeth aren't perfectly straight. And my list goes on and on. Which, the jerk did mention every single physical flaw. And even made up a few. And y'all, that's not an exaggeration. That's not to throw him under the bus or anything. This is just actual truth. But anyway, I kept my cool. I didn't retaliate with anything that he could improve on, even though there were plenty of things. But I'm just going to say the things that he could improve on mostly have to do with his character and personality. Now, I just kind of let it go, and I blocked him. I do have to say, though, that it hurt, because I really, really liked Ike. And I just don't know. He was like somebody that I could have seen having a future with, but now we know different, and there's that. But you know what? I like me, and I don't have to change or do anything for anybody else. He just wasn't meant to be. Now, so I'm just going to leave that at that. So, I'm thinking, who's the next one I should move on to? Well, okay, so this one, it's not really a dating story, thank goodness, but it could have been. So, I was texting with this other guy. One afternoon, I said something like, I need to go and start dinner for me and the kids. And I told him I would talk to him later. So, I laid my phone down, and I walked away from it. And at some point while I was cooking, though, I looked at my phone and I had a text from him that said, "It won't be long until you're serving me." I'm like, what? Okay. And I just didn't respond to it. And then I got busy again cooking dinner. So I guess I just subconsciously let it go because, like I said, I was cooking. And then when we started texting again before bed, He had changed the subject, so I thought maybe he meant it as a joke, but I didn't bring it back up. And at the same time, though, there was a little red flag raised in the back of my mind about him. Well, never ignore those red flags, ladies and gentlemen, because they're there for a reason. It would take less than 24 hours, well, really not even 8 hours, for another red flag for this jerk. The next morning I woke up pretty early, and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I got up and I started recording episodes. Being productive with the time that I had rudely given. But anyway, when I record episodes, I turn my ringer off and I check my phone periodically. Because I do have kids and that type of thing. Well, when I finished with that first recording, I checked my phone and I saw that I had a text from this guy, and I swear I've forgotten his name too. But let's just call him Joe. Now, keep in mind, this was around 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. When I opened the conversation, the text from him, he was yelling like in all caps that I was ignoring him and he would not be ignored. God, can we say diva? But anyway, for fuck's sake, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I felt no need to tell him that I was recording, and even if I should have, his attitude was not necessary. But putting that with the thing about me serving him, I just decided to not respond, and I blocked him too. Now, you guys would not believe the amount of blocked numbers in my phone. But anyway, I believe Joe was looking for what I call an Old Testament wife. Obedient and submissive, and if anybody thinks that I would fit into that category, they need a psychological evaluation, or y'all just don't know me that well, because there's just no way. I don't serve anybody. I don't bow to anybody. And I sure ain't looking for anyone who believes I should do any of those things. Oh, and y'all, at one point, he asked me if I could still have babies. I'm 50 years old. My tubes were tied a long, long time ago. There's no way I would want to, create more lives with him anyway. But, yeah. Thank you. No, thank you. So, when I was evaluating my dating life, I thought I'd take a look around on the internet and see how it's going for others out there. And the first one I found came from a Reddit user who said that they were out on a date, and when the other person leaned in to kiss them, they pooped their pants. And it doesn't say whether the person telling the story continued the date or if they got the heck out of Dodge. The person really couldn't help it, but oh my God, how embarrassing for both people. Then I read about this one lady who had a guy come over. They were attracted to each other, and the guy ended up staying the night. Well, after they did the deed, he fell asleep, and at noon the next day, he was still snoozing away. So the lady that was telling this story had to wake him up. Well, the guy, he got up. He started getting dressed, but he's missing a sock, so he accuses that lady of stealing his sock. Come on. Who the heck would even... It's crazy. And the guy, even searched through her dirty clothes hamper for his missing sock. Now, when the guy finally gets ready to go, he found that his car had been towed sometime during the night. She ended up driving him to where it had been towed, but when they get there, the place doesn't even take cards, so then they had to go find an ATM. Well, when the guy finally got his car, he tells her that he'll call her later, but she told him never call him again. Well, he did text a little later, telling her that he had lost his stylus for his phone, so she blocked him. And this next one, it kind of tops all of my dating stories. So the person that was telling this story says that after the person they were on the date with, after they had dinner, they go back to his place. But his place isn't very welcoming. There was like beer cans everywhere. And in the shower, there was like 4 rusty razors that were clogged with hair. But y'all, in the bedroom, okay, the pillowcases were covered in bloodstains. And if that wasn't enough, he tells her that his driver's license is suspended. And he had a kid that he's never met. Well, needless to say, she got the heck out of there. The pillowcases probably would have been what did it for me, but no, well, honestly, no, I probably would have wanted to hear the story of why the pillowcases were so bloody, but anyway, it probably wasn't. More than likely, it was from shaving with those rusty razors that was in the shower. Now, there was a couple more that gave me good giggles, but there was one that on the very first date, he tried to recruit her into a pyramid scheme that he was running. And there was also one that I read where the woman's grandmom had set her up with a guy from the church. When it came for time for their date, she found out that it was a double date. And that double date was with her grandparents. And if that's not bad enough, another person says that they were set up on a blind date with a man whose wife had passed away. And when they went out on their date, they were accompanied by his sister and her husband, plus the man's late wife's sister. I just think about how awkward that would be. Now, I don't know if these people went on a date anymore. It didn't say, but I just can't help but think about how awkward it would be to be sitting at a table with, especially the man's sister-in-law. I don't know. I guess everybody had to check her out and make sure she was good enough. But I think I'd rather just go out on a double date with my grandparents, especially my grandparents. Like, I had the best grandparents, but with stories like this, it makes me want to question myself about why I want to even date at all. But yeah, and like I said at the beginning, this is a short episode. Now, I do want to say, if you have a funny dating story or horrible dating story, whatever, send it to me. Like, my email address is Andrea Lee, that's AndreaLea, at the number 3, the letter M as in Mary, podcast.com. Just send me a story. I can keep you like completely anonymous if I tell it online or on the podcast. And I want to hear it. I want to know that I'm not the only one out there going through these horrendous dates. But that's all I have for tonight. Y'all come back on Monday for Mystery, Murder, and Magic.